Take a moment, drop your shoulders, let the noise of the world fade away for just a few minutes. If you are listening to this right now and you feel like your greatest internal weakness, a health crisis, or a profound personal limitation is about to permanently destroy your life's work, I need you to listen to me very closely. I want to take you back to a quiet room in Vienna, Austria, in year 1802. There is a 31-year-old musical genius named Ludwig. He is celebrated across Europe as the most brilliant pianist and composer of his generation. His entire existence, his livelihood, his identity, and his connection to God depend entirely on one sense, his hearing. But for the past few years, a terrifying buzzing has started in his ears. Slowly, agonizingly, the world is going quiet for him. He can no longer hear the high notes of the violins. He can no longer hear the soft words of his friends. He writes a secret letter to his brothers, known to history as the Heiligen Staat Testament. In it, he confesses that he is on the verge of ending his own life. He writes that he feels like an exile, terrified that the world will find out the greatest composer in Europe is going through a situation where he is getting completely deaf. Imagine the utter terror of a painter losing their sight or a musician losing their ears. Your primary tool has turned against you. The very asset you used to create beauty has been violently stripped away from you. He stands at the edge of the abyss, completely isolated by silence. No one on earth would have blamed him if he stopped creating music. Welcome to Not Yet, just before the breakthrough.
Just before the breakthrough.
I'm your host Senthil, and this is the weekly get-together for the broken and the weary. Because Ludwig did not step into that abyss, he folded that suicide note, locked it in a desk drawer, and made a terrifying declaration. I will take fate by the throat. It shall certainly not wholly overcome me, he said to himself. To understand the grit of Ludwig, you have to look at the absolute physical agony of his process. As his ears went completely silent, he could no longer perform on the stage. He couldn't hear the orchestra. So how did he compose? He sought the legs of his grand piano so it sat flat against the wooden floorboards of his room. He would lie down on his stomach, pressing his ear directly against the floor, striking a chord with his hand just to feel the physical vibration traveling through the wood into his jawbone. Think about that image. The greatest mind in music, crawling on the floor in absolute silence, trying to catch the phantom echo of a note. He didn't hear music through his ears anymore. He heard it through his bones. He had memorized the exact acoustic frequency of every instrument over a lifetime, and he began to paint symphonies entirely within the architecture of his mind. He was completely cut off from the human conversation, leading people to think he was mean, misanthropic, and insane. But he wasn't insane. He was just protecting a blazing fire inside a silent prison. I want to stop right there, because I want to talk to you about your silence. Think about Ludwig's now. His now was a silent piano, a vibrating floorboard, and a broken body. What is the limitation that is terrifying you today? Is it an illness? Is it an emotional trauma that has left you feeling completely numb? Is it a profound insecurity that makes you feel like an imposter in your own life? You are looking at your weakness and you are saying, because I have this flaw, I can no longer create anything of value. But I am here to tell you, your limitation is not your finish line. Sometimes the universe silences the external noise of the world so you can finally hear the uncorrupted masterpiece playing inside your own brain and soul. Stop fighting what you can't change and start operating with what you have left. Own your now. In May of 1824, 22 years after he wrote his suicide note, Beethoven stepped onto a stage in Vienna to premiere his Ninth Symphony. He hadn't heard a single note of it. He stood with his back to the audience, frantically waving his arms to conduct an orchestra he could not hear. When the final movement ended, the magnificent ode to the joy, the crowd erupted into the frenzy. They stood up, clapping, weeping and waving their hats. But Ludwig Beethoven kept conducting. He was a few bars behind the orchestra in his own mind. He didn't know the piece was over. He didn't know the audience was cheering. Finally, a young soloist walked over, gently took his arm and turned him around so he could see the auditorium. Beethoven looked out and saw thousands of people shouting in absolute adoration. He couldn't hear a single cheer. He just stood there in total silence and wept. The man who couldn't hear a note gave humanity its greatest anthem of joy. Your flaws don't define your legacy. The masterpiece is not in what you possess. It is what you refuse to give up. I know your heart is heavy today. I know you feel broken from inside out. But look closer. Is your spirit dead? No. Has the music in your soul stopped playing? No. Is this the final curtain? Not yet. You are just before the breakthrough. Press your ear to the floor, find the vibration, take one more step. Until we meet next week, own your now. I'm your host Senthil. Let's take the next step together. Bye for now.
Just before the breakthrough.